your host, Bryn Thompson, and on this podcast, we'll be aiming to speak with different industry experts about fraud, scams, and the latest telecom trends and the effect on vulnerable and older adults within our society. So grab a cup of tea, sit back, and let's get started. Today, we're talking with a Senior Project Officer at the National Trading Scams team. We're going to be finding out about what his role involves, its current challenges, and what you as a listener should be looking out for. So welcome, Adam. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Bryn. Thank you for inviting me. Lovely to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you on board. Before we get started, Adam, I just got a few icebreaker questions for you. So hopefully they're not too taxing. What is your favourite biscuit?
You know what? I'm a big fan of a custard cream. I think you can't beat a custard cream.
No, I think you're right.
Hobnobs are good, but custard cream, beautiful.
Yeah, the office favourite here is a chocolate-covered hobnob, but I'd probably have to go with the custard cream.
I mean, you can't really argue with any biscuit, can you? They're all good.
No. Now we're on the subject. I'm really fancying a fig roll, actually.
Oh no, hang on a minute. Whoa! It turns out you can argue with any biscuit. Fig rolls are disgusting.
Oh really? Oh no! I thought we were going to get along so well as well. What is your favourite season? Summer, autumn, winter, or spring?
So this reminds me of the TV program Schitt's Creek.
No.
What's your favourite season? And she says awards. It's got to be summer for me. It's got to be summer. 100%. The sun's out, people smiling. Everyone seems so much happier in the summer, don't they?
Yeah.
And it's been a fairly long winter as well this year.
It has, yeah. It's only sort of today around here we've got a little bit of sunshine today. It's just been raining non-stop, I think, since December almost. It's been awful. Yeah. All right, sweet or savoury?
Savoury. I'm going to go savoury. Yeah. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I've got a sweet tooth as well, but yeah, proper food, proper fare is what I'm after.
Yeah, I'd definitely rather have like a sausage roll than a little cupcake, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, should we get started with a little bit of history? What did you do prior to your current role at Trading Standards team, and sort of what led you into to where you are now?
Yeah, so I have been working for the National Trading Standards Scams team since 2018. Prior to that I owned a couple of petrol stations down on the south coast, actually. So I had nothing to do with law enforcement, with any kind of legislation, anything like that, other than my own compliance within operating and owning petrol stations. I retrained as a project manager and started working for the Scams team in 2018 to be brought in to run or relaunch the Scam Marshal project, which then went on to win some awards. And it was a 1-year contract, so I should have finished work in 2019, yet I'm still here.
That's really good.
I keep on turning up, and no one's told me to go away yet. That's basically it.
Oh, you must be doing something right then.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So, what is the Scam Marshal? What is a Scam Marshal?
Well, the National Trading Standards Scams team started in 2012, and our primary focus is to cancel that. Our primary focus is to identify victims of mail fraud and telephone fraud, and then pass that information out to local authority trading standards teams who perform some really valuable intervention. But we decided quite early on, the team decided quite early on that intervention and arresting our way out of this problem isn't going to happen. So consumer education became really a key part of the work of the team. And in 2016, they launched a awareness campaign called Friends Against Scams. It's a short session that you can do online. It takes about 20 minutes. Anyone completing that session becomes a friend, and it raises awareness about the different types of scams, the kind of people that would become a victim of those scams, and how to combat the scams, how to proactively stop those scams from targeting people, and how to report it. As part of Friends Against Scams, we created Scam Marshals, and that is a team that are kind of on the ground, a team of volunteers who use the information we send them. So we send them newsletters, we send them a badge, we send them a certificate, we kind of empower them to take a stand against scams. And they've been victims previously of mail fraud or telephone fraud, or at least they're being targeted by those frauds. And they use that information to then send to us. So instead of responding to the criminals, what they're doing is they're using that intelligence they receive and they send it to us at the Scams team. We then investigate those scams and work with enforcement agencies within this country and abroad to disrupt and prosecute those criminals. So it's a really, really good scheme. So not only does it help empower those previous victims to make them feel that they are doing something to stop the crimes, we're also getting valuable intelligence. It's really good. We've got about 2,500 scam marshals in the UK at the moment.
Oh wow, that's a decent amount. And because you work for the council, I assume it is just the advice and everything you do is completely national.
Yeah, so we are a national team. So we are the national trading standards, but within that, so we cascade our information down through the local authorities. So there's anywhere between 190 and 205 local authorities, depending on who's splitting up and who's getting together, combining on any given week. But yeah, we pass that information down to local authority trading standards teams who can then push out that messaging locally as well.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned that you mainly deal just sort of with mail and telephone scams. Do you deal with any other type, or is it just purely those sort of two?
We primarily are mail fraud. So it's just letter fraud. We started looking into telephone fraud in 2019 as a result of a project that we ran around providing call blocking technology to consumers in the UK. We've run that project now every year for the last 5 years, and we've managed to get around 6,000 call blocking units out to consumers in the UK. So as a result of that, we receive intelligence around phone calls, and we look to actively disrupt the criminals behind those calls as well. So yeah, we've moved into phone call data in the last 5 years. We're still learning it. Obviously, with mail fraud, it's quite simple. It's there, isn't it? You've got a physical piece of paper, and that physical piece of paper needs to transfer from criminal to potential victim. With phone call data, it's slightly different, isn't it? Because it's going over a network. It's invisible, I guess.
Yeah. So, so say somebody reports a phone number as scammy. What happens then?
Well, we don't take direct reports of phone numbers.
No.
We receive the intelligence from the units that we use. So if anyone does receive a fraudulent phone call, they can report it to ICO or Action Fraud, so the Information Commissioner's Office, or Action Fraud, and that gets put into the national database. So if you're registered with the Telephone Preference Service and you're receiving a marketing call from someone who shouldn't be phoning you, you can report that to the Information Commissioner's Office. If it's a scam or if it's a fraud attempt, then it can go to Action Fraud.
Okay. And are you seeing any sort of emerging scams at the moment that people should be looking out for?
So with the intelligence that we receive over the last, and I have to caveat this with the fact that our units are used primarily by older people. So I would say our average age of the people that take in our units is around 70. So the tactics that we've seen over the last 3 years, the number one tactic has been around white goods insurance, although we're careful not to call it insurance, or they're careful not to call it insurance because it's regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. So they call it service plan extensions or warranty extensions, and they target consumers usually with some form of mild cognitive impairment or Alzheimer's, dementia, that kind of thing, and they're targeting them with fraudulent white goods policies. So a warranty extension for your boiler or your washing machine. We've also seen it around TVs and other equipment like that. They're targeting them with these fraudulent policies, charging them huge amounts of money a year or a quarter. We've seen victims with 40 different policies for the same unit because they just keep on saying yes on the phone, which is the reason why we have these call blockers and the technology that phone is as well. You know, that kind of stuff can really help protect consumers. More recently, we've seen an emerging trend in relation to government grants, so green energy government grants, and they're targeting consumers, saying we can help you get a government grant for loft insulation or for heat pumps or for solar panels. This kind of new technology that we don't necessarily understand just yet.
Yeah,
and they're being targeted by saying, just give us your bank details and your card details. We'll charge you a small amount of admin fee money, and then we can go through and get this grant for you. Whereas actually, in reality, all they're after is your card details, your bank details. And as soon as they've got that, they can start using that information to, exploit people.
Yeah, not nice at all.
Not nice at all. I suppose we still see the old style tech support scams quite a lot, where people are phoning and saying there's a problem with your computer, there's a virus with your computer, give me remote access to your computer where you can go in and access some software and allow someone else from a different part of the world to access your computer and harvest your data that way as well. We still see that.
Yeah. So if somebody is like, say there's an international call center somewhere calling UK people, is there anything that can be done to sort of stop those international call centers or disrupt those, other than sort of like call blocking technology, which will stop you receiving those phone calls in the first place? Is there anything law enforcement can do to stop those?
Yes and no. Is I guess is the answer. So regulation is there, but it's rife. I've got to be careful about what I say here, because we are part of a global team. We're part of the Global Anti-Fraud Enforcement Network, which consists of around 60 different organizations across the globe from around 30 different countries. So we do a lot of work in North America with the FBI, United States Postal Inspection Service, Department of Justice, again in Canada, Federal Trade Commission, and also across Europe. So we work with them to highlight criminal entities to then target those criminal entities in different countries. So we do some work. We could do more, but work is happening out there to try and disrupt and prosecute those overseas bad actors, we call them, but criminals.
Yeah. I think I saw recently in the news that I think there was a couple of guys in India, and they just got prosecuted for doing it was a tech support ones. They were pretending to be like Norton and Microsoft and calling out, and I think they got done. So that, I think that was from information that had been fed back, and international cooperation, which was, it was great to see.
There is international cooperation happening. We promise you.
Yeah, good. It's great to hear. The other day, as I was driving into work, actually, I saw a shop nearby. They were actually being raided by Trading Standards.
Okay.
Do you ever actually get to go out on raids?
I've been on 2 raids in my time at the National Trading Standards Scams team, and both times we have found empty offices. So they were raids to go into potential call centres down on the south coast.
Yeah.
And whether the people had got wind of the fact that we were on our way, both times we found empty rooms. But we managed to speak to the teams that were next door and try to understand a bit about what they were doing. But yeah, I've done a couple of raids, but no real fun ones. I felt like the guy off Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Have you ever seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
No. I was thinking more you're going to be like Jason Statham out of The Beekeeper.
I mean, exactly that. So, I'm kind of like with my pretend gun, clear left, clear right, and all that kind of stuff. And that's how I go into those things. But yeah, I shouldn't make light of it because it's quite serious. But yeah, sometimes you feel, because when you're out of your comfort zone and you're doing something that's potentially quite exciting, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
everyone wants to go along with the police to do a raid, don't they? And that's what we got to do, and it's good fun.
Yeah, I used to be a special constable when I was sort of very young, and sort of going on the blue light runs. There's nothing quite like it when the adrenaline rush is going. It's exciting.
Absolutely.
But when eventually you actually get there and there's nothing actually going on, it's sort of a little bit. Oh, that's a bit of an anticlimax.
Yeah, it's quite frustrating. Yeah.
Are you finding that scammers are changing their tactics and way they're dealing with sort of the latest technology that we've got?
I don't think they're necessarily changing the way they're getting in touch with their potential victims, but they very much adapt to current situations. So during when it was the war in Ukraine, when it was the war in Ukraine, there was still a war in Ukraine, and we saw that huge increase in wholesale gas and electric prices. The criminals jumped on that straight away, and they said, right, okay, what's concerning consumers now? What's what situation are people in the UK that we can exploit? And that is gas and electricity prices. So what can we do? We can phone them, we can target them with those. We can reduce your energy prices through X, Y, and Z. So whether that is that loft insulation or government grants or some form of offer to reduce their energy bills, smart meters, that kind of thing. They'll jump on that quite quickly.
Yeah.
During COVID, the initial part of the pandemic, we saw a huge increase in those SMS messages, didn't we, around Royal Mail or Yodel or DPD saying, we've got a package for you. Just pay £1.99 and it takes you into a link, a phishing link, phishing for your details, and it takes you onto a farming website which is made to look legitimate, like a Royal Mail website, to pay £1.99. And again, they're just after your details. They're just harvesting your details. So they adapt very quickly to the environment around them to see what is worrying people, what is concerning people. Why would that person situation make them vulnerable, and how can we exploit that vulnerability? That's what they do.
I mean, I've listened to some of these calls in the past. I mean, the scams are so convincing, and they sound so genuine, like you wouldn't believe that they're not who they say they are. What are some of the key things that our listeners should be listening for in these conversations to make sure they're not being scammed?
It's quite difficult, because a genuine sales call will have the same hallmarks and the same tactics as a scam call, because that's it by design, isn't it? Those genuine sales calls, they work. They'll use your first name. They'll talk to you about the problem. They'll give you a solution. I guess the difference that the criminals might do, a legitimate salesperson would not put you under pressure, or should not put you under pressure. A legitimate salesperson will not give you that sense of urgency, whereas criminals might apply pressure by providing a problem, i.e. there's viruses on your computer, you need to get that fixed straight away. I'm here to help you, I can do that for you. They give you the problem, then they give you their solution. They'll get you into something called a hot state, where you're so worried and so panicked about the problems that this problem could cause, that you only see one solution out, and that is that person on the end of the phone. So that when you're in that hot state, your decision making becomes impaired. So what we like to say is, take 5 seconds, take 5 minutes, take 5 hours, take 5 days, whatever it may be, to think about what's being asked of you, to just stop, challenge the information that you're getting, and then protect yourself by either reporting that fraudulent activity or just saying no and putting the phone down. And it really is that stopping and thinking piece, which is really important for people to take in, I think.
Okay. So if someone does, unfortunately get scammed, what should they do next?
If they've lost money, the first thing they should do is contact their bank. And it should be, the first thing they should do is report it to Action Fraud. But if you report it to the bank, there might be a way of stopping the payments going through straight away. So you could potentially stop payments going through if you've paid by a debit card. Also, there is something called the contingent reimbursement model, which sounds quite boring. However, it does protect victims of fraud, victims of fraud. So if they've lost money through through sending money via a banking process, they can potentially make a claim against that bank for allowing that transaction to happen.
Okay.
It's definitely worth contacting your bank in the first instance if you've lost money to fraud. But we also do say report it to Action Fraud, because it needs to go into a national reporting service, and the decision makers, the government, the politicians, they need to see the scale of the problem. We think only between 5 and 13% of scams are actually reported to law enforcement, which means the country doesn't have an idea of the scale of the problem. So the more it gets reported, the more scams and fraud can become a real national topic.
Yeah. So we all get the odd scam phone call all the time. We probably think nothing of it, a lot of us, and we just hang up the call. Should we be reporting those even though we haven't been scammed?
So the answer is yes, really, you should be. The the tricky part is where it goes and who it gets reported to. So again, we like to say ICO, the Information Commissioner's Office, online, or Action Fraud. I mean, reporting it somewhere is great. A lot of people just go on to the website called whocalledme.co.uk. And a lot of people try and protect other people by going onto that website, putting in the number and saying this is a scam call, this is what they tried to do, which can help other people as well from stopping them becoming victims of fraud. So yeah, I mean, try and report as much as you can. Also, it's worth saying that if you get a suspicious text message or a fraudulent text message, if you forward that, you can forward that text message to 7726, which spells spam on the old style keypads.
Yeah.
That gets reported to your mobile network operator, so Vodafone, O2, 3, and they use that information to kind of stop those scam text messages coming through, and that's also visible by the Information Commissioner's Office as well. So it is part of a multi-agency approach there.
Okay, that's great. I was going to move on now to a little bit more about Friends Against Scams. So you sort of set this up. If somebody wanted to, you mentioned earlier, we spoke about it a few times, sort of about the scam marshals. If somebody wanted to become a scam marshal, how do they go about doing that?
So Friends Against Scams is available online. Google or type in the search engine Friends Against Scams, it should come up. Yeah. However, the website address is friendsagainstscams.org.uk. On there, you've got lots of information about scams. You've got the awareness session, and you do have a tab at the top called Scam Marshals, and you can click on that and you can go and have see a bit more information about Scam Marshals, and you can also sign up online. And there's loads of resources on there as well. So you can access the newsletters as well that we send out to people. We actually send out physical newsletters as well, rather than email.
Do they have to commit a lot of time to, or is it something they can sort of do ad hoc?
They can do as much or as little as they want.
Yeah.
I mean, just understanding and receiving the information from us and us telling them or asking them to talk to friends, family, neighbors, that can really help build that. It's like a community resilience piece. It can really help build that resilience against scams and fraud within local areas. So just by mentioning it at dinner tonight, when you're having dinner tonight with the family, just mention scams and fraud and talk about what you know about scams and fraud, and that can really help other people. And those people could then again, cascade that message across to other parts of your community, and you can help build that resilience. Or they can. We were actually appeared on Rip Off Britain on BBC, one of the consumer programs.
Yeah.
And we had a scam marshal who actually went around different town halls or different areas in her village, and she put scam mail post boxes in these different areas, and everyone would put their scam mail that they've received into these post boxes, and she would then use that and send it to us. So we'd have a big bulk of scam mail that we can investigate. So you can do as much or as little as you want. Awareness raising is the key there. That's kind of it.
We haven't really sort of touched on the scam mail at all. What sort of things are people receiving in the post?
So we see a lot of clairvoyant mailing, and that is people claiming to be, criminals claiming to be a clairvoyant, seeing wonderful things in your future, seeing huge wealth and huge health benefits. And we can give you a bit more information, and we can bestow this wonderful wealth onto you. All you need to do is pay £40 as an admin fee and put £40 cash into a return address envelope and stick it in the post, and then you will receive your riches. Now, that's probably the number one scam mail that we get into the team. It's awful. It's horrendous. It's conducted by criminals overseas. And that's probably the biggest one. We also see inheritance fraud, which is kind of a one-page letter that's delivered to people, and they'll say something along the lines of, someone with the same surname as you has died in Hong Kong or in the Far East somewhere, and together we can extract the money from their estate. Just get in touch with us on this email address or this phone number, and that's when they can elicit their scams. I suppose it's the old style Nigerian.
Yeah.
£10 million worth of gold, and we can share it with you. It's along that MO. Other ones are advanced fee fraud, which are very similar to clairvoyance, just saying that you are entitled to a check for however much money it is, and we just need to send a fee to release the winnings for you. Fake catalogs, those supplements providing, so a lot of it, we see a lot of sexual ones providing wonderful sexual prowess, thing, and health and mobility that are unregulated, or I guess not. Their claims don't stack up, or their claims haven't been checked by anyone, I guess.
Yeah. I know with vitamins and supplements, the regulations are quite strong on what they can say they can and can't do, isn't it? So, yeah. I suppose, and you don't know what's going to be in them either. I suppose if they did turn up, you just don't know what they are.
I mean, I'm not one for capitalism, but I kind of say you should kind of go to a trusted source. So whether that's like Holland and Barrett or Boots or anything like that. But
well-established company.
Yeah, that's it. Trusted, well-established companies. I would say you try and stick to.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've mentioned quite a few different sort of resources sort of today, where people can go to get sort of more information, like Who Calls Me, Friends Against Scam websites. Are there anywhere else that people can sort of go to make themselves aware of, sort of what's scams to look out for, and to help protect themselves?
So there are quite a few resources out there around scams and fraud. Banks are jumping on this and have been jumping on this probably way before 2019. But when the contingent reimbursement model came in, banks started to really, really push that fraud awareness messaging. And banks are also really good at providing that messaging at the point of payments as well. So I don't know if you've noticed over the last couple of years, if you were to make a payment on mobile banking or online, you get all sorts of different fraud messages coming up before you're able to make any payments. And even if I'm paying my wife or sending my wife some money, I still get those fraudulent messages. Do you trust this person? I'm like, not too sure I do trust her, but you will get those. But you will get those messages. So the banks will have their own fraud campaign. There is also a great campaign that's just been started by the Home Office called Stop Think Fraud, which is probably you've probably seen on billboards and on adverts on TV. That was really good. That's been put on hold because the general election has just been announced. So that may well be back after the summer. The UK Finance have a aim called Take 5, and that is around what I was saying around the Take 5 messaging. That take 5 minutes, 5 seconds, 5 hours, 5 years to think about the opportunity. That's Stop, Challenge, Protect messaging. Action Fraud will have their own campaigns. Neighbourhood Watch, if you're involved in Neighbourhood Watch, you can access information on their website as well. Age UK will have their own fraud section. There is so much out there around fraud and scams that there might even be a bit too much. It could quite be confusing for a consumer. Yeah. But that government Stop Think Fraud campaign is fantastic.
Yeah, so that's. I mean, you said that stops with the general election. I mean, I heard that everywhere. It was on the radio. It was on the TV. It was everywhere. It was really well publicised. I thought it was great. It's been a long time coming really for that.
It's a great advert, and they've done really, really well with it. And there should be another campaign coming up with I think with the same adverts. But again, it's been put on hold for the wonderful world of the general election.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what that turns out like. I haven't sort of got any more questions really for you today, Adam. Is there anything else you sort of wanted to add or discuss at all that you thought might be useful to chat about today?
No, I would possibly say it's around those proactive steps that you can take to stop the criminals getting in touch with you. So call blocking technology is so good. We ran a project back in 2019 with our first call blocking project. We ran it with Bournemouth University, and we looked at the well-being of those people that were receiving the technology. Yeah, the people that were receiving the technology were people that are being bombarded daily, weekly by scam telephone calls. We assessed their well-being using a academically approved study. We assessed their well-being before and 3 months after the installation of a call blocker. Before they had the call blocker, their well-being was well below national average. Just 3 months after the installation of that call blocker, their well-being increased to either in line or above national average. As a result of that, that call blocking project actually won a national award in 2021. Just by being in receipt of those calls. So whether that consumer had lost money or had engaged at all with that criminal, their well-being was still lower than the national average. So having to get up however many times a day, interrupting your day by answering the phone, assessing whether it's a scam or a legitimate opportunity, and then putting the phone down, that has a negative impact on people's well-being. So it's really important to stop those calls coming through, and you can do that through the call technology. If you're receiving mail, you can sign up as a scam marshal and send that mail to us. Or you can use the Royal Mail redirection service. I think there is a cost to that. Or you can sign up to the mail preference service, which means that legitimate marketers will not be able to send you marketing mail. It doesn't stop scam mail because, hey, guess what? Criminals don't care about the law or legislation. That's what makes them criminals. Doorstep, if you're being a victim of doorstep crime, you can maybe consider putting a doorstep sticker up or using a video doorbell or some form of recording device on the doorstep. And in terms of online fraud, we would always recommend using multi-factor authentication, having a separate, having a code being sent to your phone when you're accessing your accounts. You can do that with banks and with emails as well, which is really, really handy. So it stops other people gaining access to your accounts. Having very good antivirus software and making sure that that's updated, using strong passwords as well, and also having a password manager. It's really hard to have different passwords for each account.
Yeah,
but well worth doing. So there's they're just like the proactive step to stop those criminals targeting you in the first place.
Okay, that's brilliant. That's a great point to end on. Thank you very much, Adam.
No problem at all.
I just say thank you for listening to this episode of Phonely. If you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing so you never miss an episode in the future. You can also find us online at phonely.co.uk, where you'll be able to find show notes and links to this episode and more. We'd love to hear from our listeners, so feel free to leave a comment or question on our website or social media. Until next time, take care, and thank you, Adam.
Thank you very much. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.